Albert Einstein once said that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. According to Dr. Mercola and the film Doctored, although the US makes up only 5% of the world's population, we consume over 50% of the world's pharmaceutical drugs. And on top of that, we're ranked dead last among health and mortality among all developed nations. Now, to put this in perspective, this is more drugs than the next 6 countries combined. So let's think about this for a second. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. We are taking more and more and more drugs than ever before, and we are sicker and sicker and sicker than ever before. Now, as many of you know right now, heart disease is the #1 killer in the United States. But we gotta ask ourselves why. Now, today I'm gonna show you the reasons why we are so sick and the steps that you can take in the right direction to get a healthy heart and a healthy life. Now, the Black Plague was one of the most devastating pandemics in human history. It literally killed 30% of Europe. Well, right now, chronic disease is killing 80% of the Western world. Since the 1900s, 3 things have risen exponentially. The first two are obvious. You got the drugs and you got the surgeries. The third one is chronic illness. So you would think that if they work so well, you'd actually see a decrease in chronic illness, but it's the exact opposite. Now, the one constant in all of this is our genes. Our genes, in fact, have not changed in 40,000 years. So you can't blame the genes. You can't blame our genetics. It just doesn't work. The one factor that has changed most of the time in this time is our lifestyle. And you can kind of see it from this picture that our lifestyle from the old Paleolithic time to now has drastically changed. Now, I gotta read this quote here. We remain nearly identical to our late Paleolithic ancestors, and accordingly, their nutritional pattern has continuing relevance. So if the nutrition of the Paleolithic tribe is of continuing relevance, we need to take a look at what they ate. So first, let's look at the topic of grains, because that's a big topic today. And I gotta read this again. The human genome does not know what to do with grains. Our ancestors just didn't consume it. Our genes were formed long before we ever consumed refined sugars, cereals, breads, and pasta. Cereal grains did not grow in big fields like they do on agricultural farms. And to make sense of this, basically what this is saying is that we are not eating a diet that's made for our genetics. You know, we require something completely different than what we're eating right now. So look at these 2 pictures here. The picture on the right is our world today, after the agricultural revolution, when we had tons of wheat growing. Before that was the Paleolithic times. And you can see here that they actually did studies that in those times, they would actually be expending more energy trying to eat grains and find grains than they actually would be consuming them, because they didn't exist like they do on the right here. They might find a cereal grain here and there, but that was it. It was not a staple in our diet. So now that we know that, grains are bad, let's just look at this even from further perspective here. The appearance of agriculture 10,000 years ago introduced new dietary pressures for which no adaptation has been possible in such a short time span. Thus, an inevitable discordance exists between our dietary intake and what our genes are suited to. So again, this just means that we're not eating the diet that we're genetically designed to eat. And we're becoming very, very sick as a result. And it's leading to a lot of chronic disease, heart disease and diabetes being the main 2. So let's think about a blueprint of a house and pretend that this blueprint here, if you give it the raw materials it needs, will make the most perfect, healthy house. And in this analogy, this is analogous to our genetic code. So let's think about this. If we give this blueprint healthy wood, a healthy level foundation, healthy insulation, we are going to have the most healthy house possible. But just like with anything, if we give it rotten wood, if we give it an unlevel foundation, if we give it crappy insulation, it's going to be an unhealthy house. But can we blame the blueprint? Can we blame that? No. And it's the same with our genetic code. If you give your genetic code crappy nutrients, if we don't eat, think, and move well in ways that we're genetically designed to, can we blame our genes because we're sick? You can't, because it's been nearly identical for 40,000 years. So it just doesn't happen. So when they say it's genetic, it just doesn't make sense. So now that we know the story on grains, let's look at fat. How many of you remember the low-fat diet craze that's been sparking around America for the last 10, 20 years? I mean, this diet literally made us sick to death. So this is an interesting study, and this really helps prove my point. Eating low-fat diet for 4 years significantly decreased cognitive function and memory and increased your risk of nearly every chronic disease, especially heart disease and diabetes. So eating a low-fat diet made you decrease in cognitive decline and have decreased memory. So when I try to think about this, first I want to say, well, where does memory come from? Well, it comes from your brain. So let's look at this. Your brain is 70% fat. Okay, so that's starting to make sense. Your nerves, every single one of your nerves has a fatty covering called a myelin sheath. Every single one. And that myelin sheath actually helps you conduct nerve potentials. You have 70 trillion cells in the body, and each one has a fatty membrane around it called a phospholipid bilayer. So if our nerves are fat, our brain's fat, and our cells are fat, if we don't eat fat, we're not going to have a healthy brain. We're not going to have healthy nerves, and we're not going to have healthy cells. So no wonder this is going to cause, cognitive decline and memory loss. And what's sad is, thinking back when I was young, I used to eat this low-fat, fat-free diet like crazy. I mean, grade school, middle school, and high school. If I went to the grocery store and I saw a fat-free item and a regular, I'm going to get the fat-free item. I don't want to get fat, right? And then I'm looking at the questionable decisions I made when I was younger. And I'm thinking, well, my mom would call them stupid decisions, but I'm thinking, it's not my fault. Like, I was eating a low-fat diet. Mom, it's actually your fault. You bought the food, So here, to actually illustrate this better, we got to look at the Inuit Tribe. This is one of the last hunter-gatherer populations ever to live, and it's actually in Greenland. And they literally ate whale blubber for breakfast. They ate it for a snack before lunch. They ate it for lunch. They ate it for their evening snack, and they ate it for dinner. They literally had the highest fat content in human history. And they did not have one incidence of cardiovascular disease. I know. Wow. Seriously. So now that we're looking at fat and we're looking at grains, you got to look at the food guide pyramid that the government promotes. I mean, this is huge, because the food guide pyramid was developed by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the USDA. And they say that your breads, your cereals, your grains, your pastas should be the staple of your diet, when we now know that we aren't made to have grains. And they want you to use 6 to 11 servings of grains a day. It's like, hello. And then fat, which we now know is completely necessary, that's at the very top of the food guide pyramid. And it says, use sparingly, right? I'm like, okay. So this is the bad news, that this entire food guide pyramid is based on agricultural subsidies and not nutritional science. And what a subsidy is, it's basically the agricultural industry giving money to the government so they can promote this food guide pyramid. So it's all money driven, and it's not based on science, because if it was based on science, they would see that all science points to grains leading to a huge spike in blood sugar, which leads to insulin resistance, which literally causes every single chronic disease known to man, especially heart disease and diabetes. So let's compare the old food guide pyramid that's actually still in use today to a new one that actually Dr. Mercola made up. So you got the staple here on the bottom, the breads, pastas, cereals. And I mean, I even see some white crackers in there, and that bread even looks like white bread. That's real healthy, And on the top, you got your fats and oils, use sparingly. I love that. So what Dr. Mercola did was he literally flipped the entire food guide pyramid upside down. So where you have the fats and oils on top, it's now at the bottom. So on the bottom now, the new proposed food guide pyramid, you got healthful fats and veggies. And then he took the bottom here of the old food guide pyramid, the breads, the pastas, and he put that on the very top, used sparingly, grains and sugar, So it's sad that the complete opposite, if you go by what science says, and that's the food guide pyramid on the right, it's the complete opposite of what our government recommends. And I'm thinking, no wonder we're so sick. We're eating a diet that we're completely not made to eat. I mean, it's pathetic. So we now know that the old food guide pyramid makes us sick, but how and why? And in order to really explain this, it's going to seem like we're going off track for a little bit, because we gotta look at the normal stress response of the human body. So let's just say that you're walking in the forest. You're going on a nice little stroll, and all of a sudden, boom, out jumps a tiger. Okay, what do you do? Well, first, what's going to happen is that you're going to detect this harmful stimuli, and you're going to increase stress hormones in your body. And that's your cortisol, that's your catecholamines, your epinephrine and norepinephrine. Now, those stress hormones are going to act on the heart to increase heart rate, to increase stroke volume, to increase vasoconstriction, and to increase blood pressure. And you're thinking, well, why is that? So check this out. If you think of a garden hose, and it's just, you're watering your plants, then put your thumb on the stream, and the water comes out a lot faster, right? So that's exactly what's going on here. Your body needs to deliver those stress hormones to every single organ of the body. And so it does that by increasing the blood pressure. So that's a smart response, yes? So then it's going to also increase clotting factors in the blood. Clotting factors. Because chances are, if you're being chased by a tiger, you might need some wound healing, right? Just in case things go bad, right? You're also going to increase cholesterol. Ugh, cholesterol? God. Cholesterol has three main functions: mood regulation, wound healing, and it's a precursor to all your hormones. So if we're increasing our stress hormones, we need cholesterol in the bloodstream, because that's what makes stress hormones. And we also, just in case we survive this tiger attack, we need a way to regulate our mood back to normal. And cholesterol has a huge part of that. And that's why people who are on statins, a main side effect is depression and suicidal thoughts, because they're not getting that proper mood regulation done. And as well, it also has to do with wound healing. Because again, chances are, if you're getting chased by a tiger, you might need wound healing. Now, it's also going to increase the blood supply to parts of your body and brain that have to do with fear and protection and body breakdown. And you're thinking, body breakdown, that's stupid. But think about it. All your stores, all the energy stores of your body, you want to break them down and put those parts in the bloodstream so you have that available energy to get away from the tiger now. That's not a tiger, but you know what I'm saying, okay? You're going to decrease healing, growth, and repair. Wow. You're going to decrease healing and regeneration. But think about this. It's very metabolically expensive to regenerate your body. So if your number one priority is to get away from that tiger, your body's not going to devote energy into healing your body. Doesn't it make sense? Your number one priority is to save your life and get out of that tiger. And then you're going to decrease your immune system. So your cell-mediated immune system is going to go down if you're being chased by a tiger. Why? Because your immune system is metabolically expensive. Think about when you're sick. If anyone's had the flu or cold out there, are you not tired? And why are you tired? Because your immune system's at work, and it's using all the energy you have. So every time we're sick, we're tired. It's because your immune system is at work. So why would your body want to dictate energy to your immune system when it needs energy now to run away from the tiger? You're going to decrease factual learning and memory. Because when you're running from a tiger, you don't need to learn history, right? It's not a priority. So it's going to block memory and it's going to block factual learning. And by the way, as a side note, thinking of a future stressful event also stimulates the stress response. So kind of like me preparing for this talk, So if I miss any key points here, I have a complete legitimate reason why, because my factual learning and memory is being decreased. But on a serious note, this is also why some people don't take tests well, because they might know the material, but if they're viewing that test as a future stressful event, they're going to go through this entire stress response, and their factual learning and memory is going to be inhibited. So that's why some people just can't test well, but they know the material. Now we're going to increase the sensitivity of our sensory organs, because if my senses are heightened, chances are I'll be able to escape the tiger more conveniently. I'll know left from right. I'm going to be aware. Your senses are going to be stimulated. But think about this. If this is a chronic response, say in a school setting, it causes us to be easily distracted. I'm learning about this, I'm looking at this, oh, my arm hurts, oh, this. Does that sound like ADHD to anybody? Literally, that's exactly what it is. You're going to increase blood glucose levels, because those stress hormones are going to want to increase blood glucose levels so you have that available energy in your bloodstream ready to go to escape that tiger, because you're going to need a ton of energy in that bloodstream. And you're going to increase your fatty acids in the bloodstream, because fatty acids can turn into glucose to use for energy. So this is a normal, healthy response. We're made to have this stress response for acute situations, such as getting chased by a tiger, and it can save your life in a crisis. And so we should be thankful for that. The problem is that we're now using this stress response that was once made to use as acute situations into a chronic setting. So think about this. You have a chronic stressor, and a chronic stressor is anytime you eat, move, or think in ways that are not genetically congruent. So that's eating crappy foods, eating a ton of grains, not eating enough fat, thinking bad thoughts, thinking of past, future stressful events, and not moving. So those are all chronic stressors of the body. So what happens? Well, we know that if you're under chronic stress, like we just learned, you're going to have decreased healing, decreased growth, decreased repair, decreased brain function, immune function, and memory. Does that sound like anybody that we know? I mean, literally. What's the effect on the heart? Because this is really what we're here today, to talk about the heart. But we know that no organ works in isolation. The whole body works together. So the effect on the heart, let's think about this. This chronic stress is going to increase our blood pressure massively. It actually depletes your magnesium levels. Your stress hormones literally block all magnesium. And what does magnesium do? It causes muscle relaxation. So if that heart cannot relax, it's just going to be pumping and pumping harder and harder and harder, literally working it to death. Those blood vessels are going to constrict more and more and more because you don't have that available magnesium to relax. You're literally working the heart to death. On top of that, the blood is becoming super thick because you got let's think about this, the clotting factors, the fatty acids, the cholesterol, and the glucose, all in the blood, making it this kind of sludgy blood. So not only is the heart pumping faster and faster and faster, it's now pumping this thick, fat, sludgy blood. And that's not easy. So no wonder our heart is going, downhill from here. So when you're under chronic stress, you need to increase fatty acids in the bloodstream for energy. But if it's chronic and you keep needing to take away these fat stores and bring them in the bloodstream, your body's going to want to store fat where it's really convenient. So we store fat right here, because it doesn't get much more convenient than having a fat store right here for the body to grab. Sound familiar? Anybody? Your body's not going to grab fat stores from your big toe. It's not convenient. It's going to want to go right here. Right here. So if you look at all this, you got thick blood, your heart's working harder and harder and harder. Is this not heart disease waiting to happen? I mean, this is exactly what it is. So even Dr. Berman did a talk a couple months ago talking about the new studies that's showing that heart attacks are not due, most of them are not due to a clogged coronary artery completely, because your body's smart and has a defense mechanism for that. We actually can make collateral circulation. When they sense that the coronary artery is clogging up, we actually have collateral circulation to defense that. So it's kind of like when you're in a traffic jam, you can take a detour around that traffic jam. Our body can do that. What really causes the heart attacks is an increase in your sympathetic nervous system, which is exactly what the stress response is. Chronic stress. So I literally just thought about this, and I'm thinking of a squirt gun analogy. Anyone heard of a super soaker? Those big old guns? Well, when I was in 4th grade, we moved to a lake house, and we had super soakers on steroids. I mean, these things were awesome. Do you remember those big old guns where you'd put in the water, you'd pull them out, and you just pump them out, and you could drench someone in one soak, easy. You know, it was awesome. You know, so me and my brother would be having these squirt gun fights, and I had a good idea. You know, if I put that squirt gun in the shallow end, all the way to the dirt, the very bottom of the lake, and pulled it up, not only am I pulling up water, but I'm pulling up this smutty sludge, you know, some seaweed, you know, algae, you know, if I'm lucky, you know. And then when I get my brother, not only am I getting him just drenched with water, but I'm getting him filthy with mud, just wet mud everywhere, dripping down his face, you know, awesome. And then if I'm lucky, I get some seaweed on his face, you know. But what I noticed is that when I filled it up with that sludgy stuff, I wasn't able to push that squirt gun as easy, you know, because I'm not pushing just normal water anymore. I'm pushing this thick sludge throughout this tiny little hole. And that's what your heart's doing when you're increasing those fatty acids, that cholesterol, that glucose, those clotting factors in that blood. And it's pumping that out within a constricted blood vessel. That's what's going on. So it's a lot harder. But instead of me just doing it once, your heart's doing this all day long. And that's why, too, that these symptoms become so predictable now. You know, so if I'm going to go in and do a patient intake, and I'm looking at the patient and I'm like, stressful office job, they checked off fatigue, you know, boom, I already know they're going through the chronic stress response, you know, sounds just like this. So I go in there, hi, Mrs. Jones, you know, and she's like, I'm like, you know, are you having memory problems? Why, yes, how'd you know? I'm like, I don't know, you know, just coincidence. Do you have a high blood pressure? I do. And how about high cholesterol? Yes, I'm on a statin. Oh my gosh, Dr. Mike, you're a genius. How'd you know all this? You know, and I'm like, it's not me. It's literally the stress response. So now all of you can predict symptoms. If someone's under chronic stress, you already know what's going to happen. It's that easy. And that way, we also know what medications they're going to be taking before they tell us. If they're under chronic stress, you know they're going to have elevated blood pressure. You know they're going to have elevated cholesterol. So chances are they're going to be on a blood pressure drug. They're going to be on a statin. And oh, by the way, that blood's thick. They're probably on a blood thinner as well. Makes sense. So let's say that someone is on a blood pressure medication. So they're still having that chronic stress response, but now, since those stress hormones can't increase the blood pressure because it's temporarily blocked by that medication, what is your body going to do? You know, your body's like, I need this blood pressure to go up, but there's a chemical blocking that. So what it's going to do, if those stress hormones can't increase that blood pressure, you're going to keep increasing and increasing those stress hormones. But the body's not allowing that blood pressure to go up. So it's kind of like a negative feedback loop where you're going to keep pumping and pumping and pumping, but it's not happening. So then, you know, this patient goes to the doctor and says, you know, doc, I really want to get off these meds, you know, but I can't. And the doctor's like, well, let's give it a try. So what happens once you get off those drugs? Well, think about it. You have such a buildup of those stress hormones in the body that, boom, your blood pressure spikes big time. You know, and the doctor looks at that reading, sorry, Miss Jones, told you so, you know, you got to stay on the meds, you know. But they did not address the chronic stress, this chronic stressor. They didn't address the environment. They didn't address that. And it's no wonder it's going to go up again. So where does chiropractic fit into all this? So another study came out that says this: proper motion and alignment of the spinal synovial joints is a genetic requirement for health, and a lack of proper motion of the spine is a stressor. So not only is poor food choices a stressor, but also lack of movement in the spine in alignment. So let's look at this. If we have spinal joints that aren't moving correctly, they're going to start to become inflamed and degenerate. And what that joint's going to then do is send these stressful signals to the brain, and it's going to cause that brain to release stress hormones. Now, when the brain releases those stress hormones, that same chronic stress response is going to occur. So you're going to have the high cholesterol, you're going to have the high blood pressure, you're going to have increased, you're going to have decreased immunity, decreased factual learning and memory. You're going to have all of that. It's the same exact thing. So we just learned everything that happens. Now, let's say as chiropractors, what we're going to do is we're going to restore that joint to proper motion and alignment. And then what that does is, instead of those unhealthy, stressful signals going to the brain, you're going to have these healthy sensory input go into your brain. It's called proprioception. Have you heard of that word? Proprioception? So proprioception literally acts as a nutrient to your brain. And then what that's going to do in turn is it's going to block the stress response. So an adjustment literally has a capability of reducing the stress response in our body. So then when you look at it in the big picture, it's going to decrease our heart rate. It's going to restore blood pressure to normal. It's going to increase blood flow because now those blood vessels aren't vasoconstricted. They're going to dilate now because they're at relax. You're going to have more magnesium for muscle relaxation. You're going to have increased immunity, memory, brain function. You're going to have all that. Does that make sense now? Now, that's why when we exercise, we always feel full of energy because you're feeding your brain those constant proprioceptive signals that literally act as nutrients to your brain. And in turn, those proprioceptive signals are going to block the stress response from happening. And that's also why when we sit all day, you're thinking, oh, this guy's conserving energy all day. He should have energy, right, built up. It's not the case because instead of those proprioceptive healthy signals going to your brain, you're now having those stressful signals going to your brain, initiating the stress response, causing the fatigue, the memory loss, the factual learning loss. The same stress response we've just been talking about. So we now know that avoiding this chronic stress response, eating healthy foods, and having proper motion and alignment of our spinal joints can go a long way into getting us a healthy heart and a healthy life. So I'm going to end with this. According to the CDC, heart disease is going to kill 1 out of every 3 Americans. So what I want each and every one of you to do is look to the person to your left. And then I want you to look to the person to your right. And I want you to decide who's it going to be. Because see, what I'm asking you today is not be one of those statistics. What I'm asking you today is take health into your own hands. Come into our office and get checked because literally we measure the stress response of the body by a test we do, and it's called heart rate variability. We do the exact same thing. So what I want you to do is get a coupon, give it to your friends, share this information because you're literally going to share their life. So my hope is that all of you take action now and become healthy. Thank you.